On my birthday, I was hospitalized due to illness. All I wanted was for my wife to cook me a bowl of birthday noodles. Instead, she threw me 20,000 yuan and told me to order takeout. She said she didn't want to waste time on such boring matters. Moments later, I scrolled through the social feed of her childhood friend. In the video, the wife who never cooks had prepared a whole table of dishes. Her childhood friend was lovingly feeding her. And in her arms, she held a little boy. The caption read, "Every wish granted." This is what a happy family truly looks like. Calmly, I finished the birthday noodles and egg from the takeout. I liked the post on social media. My wife called in a panic. "What do you want to eat?" "From now on, I can cook anything for you." I replied, "But there won't be a from now on for us." The next day, I checked out of the hospital alone. I didn't tell anyone. Liu Ryan made a futile trip to the hospital. As soon as she came through the door, she was fuming. "You've recovered, right? And you just left the hospital. Why didn't you say a word to me?" In the past, I would always report everything to her, hoping to gain even a sliver of her attention. But she always turned a blind eye. Besides, she never cared where I went. Who would have thought she'd come to the hospital, wasting her time on someone as boring as me? I quietly continued folding my dry clothes, seeing I wasn't responding. Liu Ryan stormed into the kitchen, still angry. She grabbed an apron, ready to tie it. "It's just a bowl of noodles, right? I'll make it for you now." "It's too late," I said. I wasn't talking about the time. "It's no longer necessary. Today isn't my birthday." She didn't expect me to refuse. Liu Ryan paused for a moment, stunned. Then she threw down the apron in frustration. "The Yan! Can't you stop being so petty?" Lu Hui wasn't feeling well. And there was no one to cook for Hao. That's why I thought I'd go help out. "Do you really have to keep holding on to this?" "No, I don't have to, but I couldn't understand. We've been married for 7 years. And she couldn't even make me a bowl of birthday noodles. Yet she was willing to go far to make an entire meal for her childhood friend. Just as she said, if no one was there to cook, he could have ordered takeout. But she couldn't bear to let him do that. After all, if it weren't for a misunderstanding, they would have been together, maybe even married by now. I've stood by her for 7 long years, drinking myself sick to help her build her company, wearing down my body in the process. Now that she's successful, her childhood friend has come back. Even with a 5-year-old son in tow, she doesn't seem to mind. I guess that must be true love. "That's nice," I replied calmly. My hands never stopped working, sensing my cold demeanor. Liu Ryan, suppressing her anger, came closer. She slapped the pile of clothes I had just folded. "Can't you stop folding those ragged clothes? I'm talking to you. And I'm talking to you properly," I said. To be honest, even now, I felt no ripple of emotion. She bit her lip in frustration, as if suddenly remembering something. Suddenly, she pulled a gift box out of her bag. It was a thermos from a well-known luxury brand. "A birthday present I picked out just for you. Looks like you don't care anymore," she said. I might as well throw it away. She pretended to toss it into the trash can, but her hand never let go. Her eyes stayed on me, watching my reaction from the corner. She was using this threat to test my response. In the past, anything she gave me, even the most worthless trinket, I cherished like a treasure. What kind of reaction would meet her expectations now? Should I beg her not to throw it away? Grovel and apologize for not appreciating her gesture? No! All I felt was disgust. "I'll really throw it away," she said, as if her patience had run out, her voice rising. "This brand doesn't sell thermoses separately," I replied. "I saw it on Lu Hui's social feed. You went with him to buy a watch, and the thermos was a free gift. She gave me something he didn't want, yet still expected me to be grateful. The gift may be cheap, but I am not." The air froze in that moment. Liu Ryan was momentarily speechless. A trace of awkwardness and guilt flickered across her face, but it quickly disappeared. Whatever, she said. I stood up, heading for the guest room. The Yin! Liu Ryan suddenly called out to me. Her gaze shifted to her pile of clothes on the balcony. When I turned back, her eyes were misty, with unshed tears. What do you mean by this? She asked. I only folded my own clothes. You never used to be like this, she said. I don't see any problem with it. In the past, I treated her as my only family. I believed that love meant taking on her burdens. No matter how busy I was, I would always make sure her clothes were neatly ironed and folded. But now, she and Lu Huai are the true picture of a happy family. She shouldn't expect me to do anything for her anymore. After all, I don't want to waste time on such meaningless things. You'll have to take care of your own clothes, I said calmly, as I casually picked up the nearly forgotten documents from the coffee table. Oh, by the way, here's the divorce agreement. Find some time to sign it. Divorce? She shot up from her seat, her chest heaving with anger. The Yan, are you seriously trying to pick a fight with a child? It was just a meal. Is divorce really necessary to scare me? In truth, I despised them both, entangled in this mess yet too cowardly to admit it. Always using the child as a shield, acting as if they were the ones wrong. Liu Ryan took a deep breath, closing her eyes, finally managing to suppress some of her anger. Fine, if it's such a big deal. I won't go help them anymore, okay? But please don't joke about divorce. I don't like it. I couldn't tell how genuine her promise was, nor did I care to find out. I set the divorce papers down. Politely, I smiled. I have things to do tomorrow. I'll go to sleep now. She wasn't ready to give up. She wanted to keep arguing with me. You're always doing nothing. What could you possibly be busy with? Just before she could grab me, the door slammed shut with a bang, shutting out her face, twisted with anger. In the darkness, I lit a cigarette. I sent a message to the junior colleague who had been waiting patiently about what you asked me before. I've decided to agree. The next morning, Liu Ryan left the house early. As soon as I opened the door, the smell of food wafted into the room. A lavish breakfast was laid out on the table. The divorce agreement had been shredded into pieces, lying quietly in the trash can. I was a bit surprised. In 7 years of marriage, she had never made me breakfast. My phone suddenly buzzed with a message from Liu Ryan. Busy with work at the company. I'll make you lunch when I get home. This sudden act of kindness gave me a fleeting sense of happiness, like a mistaken impression. For a moment, it seemed as though Liu Ryan cherished this relationship, as if she truly wanted to make it up to me. But deep down, I knew this hard-earned enlightenment, paid for with half my life, made it clear that if I ever looked back, it would be my downfall. I met my junior colleague, Wei Wei, at a cafe. The once pure campus girl had blossomed into a graceful young woman. When she saw me, her smile bloomed like a flower. Senior, you've been so busy. It's great to finally see you. After some polite conversation, she rested her chin on her hand, looking at me with admiration. I know most of your wife's company's success is because of your hard work, senior. Several crises were resolved by my senior brother. The boss of that overseas company had long been trying to recruit me. He wanted to poach you. If you go, it's a done deal. It's just a pity that my senior brother always refuses me. This is actually true. In fact, the company owned by Liu Ryan was founded by me. But to fulfill Liu Ryan's career ambitions, I only took a small share of the company. Now, Liu Ryan holds all the power. Instead, I've become the dispensable one. Vivi has thrown me olive branches multiple times. Branches of opportunity. But I really don't want to foster competition for Liu Ryan's company. Moreover, leaving would mean many years away. I can't bear to be separated from Liu Ryan. So I found various excuses to refuse. Now I have no concerns. I'm ready to accept this challenge. At the moment of departure, the IVI insisted on treating me to ice cream while waiting for her at the spot. Several familiar figures came into my sight. At the amusement park entrance, Liu Ryan, who should have been busy at the company, was now walking toward me with Lu Huai, both dressed in couple outfits. They were holding Hao's hand, heading my way. Lu Huai had his arm around Liu Ryan, and Hao was bouncing happily, calling her mom from time to time. Liu Ryan's eyes squinted into a joyful smile, responding with an affectionate yes each time. She truly is forgetful. Just last night, she promised to draw clear boundaries with them. Yet today, she eagerly reunited as a family. I had intended to avoid them, but she met my gaze first. At first, Liu Ryan's eyes were filled with embarrassment and unease. Then anger surfaced on her face. Are you okay? You're actually stalking me? Are you sick or something? She misunderstood, thinking I was here to follow her. Seeing me remain silent, Lu Huai tightened his arm around Liu Ryan, raising his eyebrows at me. You're not mad, are you? Our son said he missed his mom. So I had no choice but to ask Ryan for a favor, to bring him here to the amusement park. Why don't you join us? Although we already bought the family tickets, you might have to get yourself a single ticket. His tone was full of provocation. Liu Ryan didn't stop him. She was basically allowing him to act like this. I was used to it. There was a time when she didn't even have the patience to go to a movie with me. But when it came to Lu Huai, she always had endless patience. At that moment, I felt like a clown. Each second I stayed suffocated me. Hao tugged at Liu Ryan's pant leg, shaking it continuously. Mom, Dad, let's go! I want to play. The irritation on Liu Ryan's face instantly turned into tenderness, as she quickly agreed. Alright, before leaving, she shot me a glare. Yan, you're really pathetic. Stop making a fuss over such trivial matters, and stop stalking me. I'll definitely come back once I'm done. Got it? You don't need to report to me. I wasn't ashamed or angry. My tone was completely calm. As Liu Ryan began to move away, Vivi came running over and shoved an ice cream into my hand. I didn't know what flavor you liked, so I bought one of each. Liu Ryan turned back in astonishment. Her gaze shifted between Vivi and me. Then her eyes widened. Well, Ziyan, no wonder you want a divorce. Turns out you've had a change of heart long ago. Liu Ryan has always disliked me being around other women. So for the past 7 years, no other women have been around me. Now, here she was in couple outfits with another man, buying family tickets, yet questioning me about cheating. I let out a cold laugh. We aren't wearing couple outfits. Vivi quickly explained. I'm just here to discuss a business collaboration with senior brother Ziyan. Please don't misunderstand, sister-in-law. No need to explain to her. The innocent. I stared at Liu Ryan calmly, without backing down even an inch. My anger was clear for all to see. But under the child's persistent pleas, and with Lu Huai persuading her a bit more, she left me behind, entering the amusement park with them. When I got home, I saw Liu Ryan's new post on her social media. It was a video of her and Lu Huai at the water park. In the video, she was wearing a revealing bikini, lifted high by Lu Huai above his head. Her proud figure almost pressed against his chest. The caption read, "My true love is a hero beyond compare. Someday he will come to marry me on a cloud of rainbow light." Both the video and caption were equally striking. I had once told her more than once that while I didn't object to freedom of dress, I had always asked her to avoid posting such revealing photos on her social media. I'd get jealous, I used to tell her. Liu Ryan dismissed it with a scoff. A good figure is meant to be shown off, and I'm not showing it off with other men. Now, not only was she showing it off, They were just one bed short of crossing a line. There were likely comments from her friends beneath the post, to which Liu Ryan responded seriously. Egg pancake. Only in front of him can I truly be myself. Our child always clings to me, like a little shadow. It's so much fun. Next time, I'll introduce them to you guys. You'll have to meet them eventually. 7 years of marriage, and I'd always wanted to have a child with her. But she said she hated children. Turns out, she just hated having my child for her childhood sweetheart's kid. She didn't even mind being a stepmom. I used to always like her social media posts, but this time, I chose to ignore it. It was probably because I ate something cold. My stomach was aching in waves. I curled up on the couch, folding into myself to ease the pain. I thought she would stay out until the afternoon, but she came home earlier than I expected. When she returned, I was lying with my eyes closed, pretending to nap. She tossed her bag onto the entryway shelf. For some reason, she was angry again. You've seen my social media, haven't you? You didn't react at all? My friends' partners never. Let them post things like that, but you chose to ignore it. Do you even still love me? Back when I loved her, she used to resent me for being too controlling. Now that I'm not controlling her anymore, she blames me for not loving her. The logic is truly baffling. I turned over, speaking in a flat tone. A good figure is meant to be shown off. You didn't post any bed photos with another man. So what should I even react to? Should I give you a like? She was instantly at a loss for words, turning her back on me in a huff. There was a long silence. Seeing I had no intention of comforting her, she gave up, suddenly changing the subject. What's this about you discussing business behind my back? I'm not going to cooperate with that sly fox. Since it had come to this, I could only painfully sit up and pull out the prepared share transfer agreement from under the pillow. I don't want a single share of your company. I'm transferring everything to you. She gave me a puzzled look, took the document and flipped through it. Then she coldly tossed it onto me with a sneer. This retreat to advanced tactic is really childish. Without me, what else could you even do? You were jealous, just admit it. I posted that on social media just to see if you still love me. Nothing more. Even now, she still thought I was doing all this to get her attention. But in reality, I would rather have nothing at all than stay with her. Just as I was about to stand up, a wave of dizziness hit me, and I staggered, nearly collapsing, before Liu Ryan caught me. She only then noticed the beads of sweat on my forehead. Her eyes filled with concern. You're sick. I'll take you to the hospital. Before I could refuse, her phone rang. The contact name was Supreme Treasure, Lu Huai's special nickname. Compared to the cold Zijuan that she had for me, Lu Huai was given something much more intimate. Ryan, how has a fever? Come and check on him quickly. Liu Ryan's brows furrowed in worrying. If it's not her getting sick, it's the child. They don't even bother changing the excuses. But Liu Ryan always willingly fell for them. Seeing the conflict in her eyes, I spoke in a low voice. Go! After all, your son can't do without you. She didn't hesitate, grabbed her bag and slammed the door behind her. In just 2 days, this was the second time she abandoned me while I was ill. This half-cooked meal of a relationship, I couldn't take another bite of it. The next day, I went back to the company to discuss the share transfer with a few shareholders. As we were talking, Liu Ryan returned to the company. But this time, it was different. She was accompanied by Lu Huai, and Liu Ryan didn't notice me in the corner. Excitedly, she introduced him to her colleagues. This is Lu Huai. From now on, he'll be my personal assistant. Let's all work happily together. Sensing the heavy atmosphere, she followed everyone's gaze and finally noticed me standing off to the side. 6 months ago, feeling sorry for Liu Ryan's hard work day and night, I had offered to be her personal assistant so I could look after her. But she refused, saying that her current assistant was doing just fine and she didn't want to fire her. Now, all of a sudden, she had dismissed that same perfectly capable assistant, replacing her with Lu Huai. It was all just to wait for Lu Huai to join the company. A flicker of panic flashed in Liu Ryan's eyes, and she quickly explained. Recently, Lu Huai has been unsatisfied with several jobs he's tried, but I believe in his abilities. Don't overthink it. You're also a shareholder. If you don't want him here, you can object. I interrupted her first. It's fine. You two will surely get along very well. My calm agreement caused the panic in her eyes to almost overflow. One of the shareholders quickly stepped in to ease the tension. Ziyan is heading to a major overseas company soon. We should throw him a farewell party and drink to our heart's content. Liu Ryan froze for a moment, then hurriedly reached out to grab me. Wait, you're going abroad? Since when? Why don't I know about this? I politely stepped aside, dodging her grasp. The share transfer has already been submitted. The rest is up to you. This is the first time I'm troubling you, and it will also be the last. Liu Ryan clenched her now empty hands, finally breaking down. You're really going abroad? Are you leaving to be with that woman? Do you really not love me anymore? At that moment, she was truly afraid of losing me. Her eyes filled with tears. Compared to her panic, I remained unusually calm. Vivi is just a headhunter, responsible for recruiting talented individuals for major companies. There's no need for you to be so upset. How can I not be upset? I'm your wife. But I had to hear about you going abroad from someone else. Is that fair to me? Fairness. How could she demand fairness from me? She could be intimate with other men and call it friendship. Yet if I took too long to reply to her messages, I was accused of fooling around. Her friends were all noble gentlemen. Even if they were seeing to people at once, it was excusable. My friends, on the other hand, were all sneaky foxes and troublemakers. Even serious business discussions were seen as ulterior motives. In her eyes, whatever I did was always wrong. That was the real unfairness toward me. Those around us exchanged glances, and murmurs of gossip began to rise. At this moment, Liu Ryan no longer cared about her dignity. Like a desperate person, she tightly clung to my sleeve. I don't agree. We've been married for so long. It's about time we had a child. What am I supposed to do if you leave for abroad? I smiled and pointed to How. You already have a son. Have you forgotten? I slowly pried her fingers away from my sleeve and softly said, I've already sent the divorce papers to your email. Find some time to sign them and let's end this marriage. In front of all these people. She never expected me to be so resolute in asking for a divorce. She looked like someone suffering from a severe cold, her voice thick with nasal congestion. No! Are you still mad because I didn't make you that bowl of birthday noodles? I'll cook for you every day from now on. Different dishes every time, alright? You can eat whatever you want. Her eyes were brimming with tears, her tone filled with pleading. Please, I'm begging you. Can't you say, just for me? At this point, she still thought it was all about that bowl of noodles. But it was so much more than that. She had been blind to everything I had done for her. Time after time, she left me behind for Lu Huai. Her coldness gradually drained all the love I had for her. That bowl of noodles was just the moment that made me realize it was time for me to leave. Liu Ryan tilted her head, stubbornly waiting for my response. Lu Huai, unable to watch any longer, pulled her away. Let's go have dinner. There's no point wasting time here. He gave How a little nudge. How understood his cue and ran over to hug Liu Ryan's leg. Mom, I'm really hungry. Let's go eat now. Mom, stop talking to this bad uncle. Don't you want me and Dad anymore? Liu Ryan looked at me with panic in her eyes, afraid of saying anything else that might anger me. Suddenly, she shoved him away. I'm not your mom. Don't call just anyone your mom. She pushed too hard, and Hao was knocked over, falling to the ground and bursting into tears. Liu Ryan. Lu Hui shouted her name loudly. She immediately realized she had gone too far. She quickly knelt down, trying to comfort Hao. Don't cry. As she soothed the child, she glanced back at me with an apologetic look. I'm sorry. I'll be fine soon. She picked up Hao, desperately trying to make him laugh, and Lu Hui joined in to help. Lu Hui's right hand, either deliberately or unintentionally, rested on Liu Ryan's waist. She laughed at something he said, and soon the office was filled with their cheerful voices. I had no intention of staying to watch their happy little family performance. Glancing at the time, I gave a slight nod to the shareholders. It's getting late. I'll be heading out. Hearing that I was leaving, Liu Ryan quickly put Hao down. Lu Hui took the opportunity to pinch the skin on Hao's arm, causing him to cry out suddenly. Liu Ryan immediately scooped him back up again. Alright, don't cry, be good. Lu Hui spread his hands helplessly. There's nothing I can do besides you. No one can calm him down. As expected, between me and Lu Hui, she would always choose him. Just as I reached the company's entrance, someone tugged on my arm. I turned around and saw Liu Ryan smiling at me, tears still clinging to the corners of her eyes. Where are you going? I'll come with you. I was a bit surprised inside. This was the first time she had ever left Lu Hui to come after me. In the past, I wouldn't have even dared to imagine it. But now, none of it mattered anymore. Dinner, I replied half-heartedly. She slipped her arm through mine, tilting her head and smiling like a child. What's so great about eating out? Let's go grocery shopping. I'll cook up a feast for you at home. Unable to resist her playful pushing, I eventually got into her car. The atmosphere inside was heavy, and the silence took root, growing in every corner. As Liu Ryan drove, she kept glancing back at me frequently, as if she was waiting for something. But I remained unresponsive. In the past, whenever we were in the car together, I would talk non-stop throughout the ride, afraid of the silence. Even though she rarely replied, I was always content with just that. But now, there was nothing left to say. To be precise, there was nothing left to say to her asterisk. In the end, she couldn't stand it anymore, and broke the silence first. I know you've always been jealous of me and Lu Hui, but we really are just childhood friends. Otherwise, I wouldn't have married you. We've never crossed any lines, so stop overthinking it. I leaned against the car window, her words passing through my ears as if muffled, failing to truly register. Because on the window, I noticed two distinct handprints, clearly the size of Liu Ryan's hands. I remembered Lu Hui often rode in her car. Sometimes, the two would even take road trips to remote places together. My mind began to wander, imagining all sorts of scenarios. What kind of position would one have to be in to leave handprints like that on the window? I didn't confront her. Instead, I calmly responded, "You're a good person." Then I reached for the dashcam to check the interior footage. For once, she didn't notice anything odd. In fact, hearing me compliment her, Liu Ryan didn't suspect a thing and became even more talkative. Then don't go abroad. I'll give you half of the company's shares. You can be the CEO of my company. We'll run it together. As a couple from now on, the company will definitely reach new heights with you. My hand froze in midair. I looked at her in disbelief. Liu Ryan had always been strong-willed, and ever since the company stabilized, she had maintained sole control, never willing to share even a bit of power. Yet now, she was offering me half of her empire. If this had been in the past, I would have been deeply moved. But now, my finger was already pressing play on the car's interior dashcam. Under Liu Ryan's expectant gaze, suddenly an unbearable sound filled the air. The footage showed Liu Ryan leaning against the car window, her half-dazed face visible, accompanied by Lu Huai's concerned voice. Does it hurt? Due to a blind spot in the camera's angle, the footage wasn't complete, but it was enough for me to piece together the whole scene. How foolish must she think I am? To not even bother deleting the dashcam recordings? Suddenly, a sharp break. My back slammed hard against the seat. Liu Ryan sat frozen in place, her hands gripping the steering wheel tightly, not even daring to look at me. I didn't have time to care about her shock. I unbuckled my seatbelt. Go eat by yourself. I feel a bit nauseous right now. I've lost my appetite. As I tried to get out, her pale hand suddenly pressed down on the seatbelt buckle. I looked up and met her evasive eyes. You misunderstood. My hand got caught in the window at the time. Lu Huai was just checking on me. I responded with a simple "Oh, so you still think I'm a fool, huh?" Well, he seems like a good person too. You two are quite the saints. Hearing the sarcasm in my voice, she finally let go of my hand. Even as I walked away, her car remained parked in place. I could feel her gaze fixed on me the whole time, watching me intently. It wasn't until I disappeared at the alley's corner that it faded. I found a random noodle shop and had lunch. In fact, the food outside wasn't bad at all. Sometimes, home-cooked meals aren't always that clean either. 2 days of silent Cold War passed. I busied myself with preparations for leaving the country, while Liu Ryan waited for me to break the ice first. After all, every time we argued, it was always me who swallowed my pride and apologized, even when it was her fault. But this time, her calculations were wrong. 2 days straight, I moved around the house as if she wasn't even there. It was like I couldn't see her at all. After finishing the paperwork and returning home, I found Liu Ryan sitting in the living room. She had dug out all our old wedding photos, which had been stashed away in the storage room, carefully cleaned. They were now displayed in the most prominent spot in the living room. These were the same wedding photos she once insisted on putting away. She said she didn't want to be reminded that she was already married, but now she had taken them out herself, as if to remind me of the reality of our marriage. But what difference did it make? You could clean dirty wedding photos, but once a marriage gets tainted, there's no way to clean it up again. Without looking at her, I walked straight toward the study. In a panic, she hurried to her feet, calling out. She held up one of the wedding photos. Look how happy we were back then. We were both smiling so brightly. At that moment, I thought to myself, I finally married the person I wanted most. Her eyes sparkled, indeed looking like the image of someone in love. So am I your supreme treasure? Or the Monkey King? I suddenly asked her, catching her off guard. Her lips parted, then closed again. But she couldn't come up with an answer. Neither. I said, I'm just the Yan. With that, I opened the door to the study. As I turned my back on her, she called out to me. But at that moment, her phone rang again. Ironically, it was Lu Huai, her supreme treasure. I could tell she wanted to answer it, but she was afraid of upsetting me. She held the phone, hesitating, caught between choices. Go ahead, answer it. Who knows, maybe someone's gravely ill again. I found my own words bitterly amusing. With my permission, she hurriedly pressed the answer button. Lu Huai's voice came through, with a hint of reproach. Did you forget about the parent-child event at the kindergarten? Take some time to come over. In situations like this, she would usually leave me without a second thought. After all, no one was more important to her than Lu Huai. But to my surprise, she glanced up at me and declined. You go by yourself. I have something to do right now. She actually rejected Lu Huai's invitation. This was the first time ever. On the other end, Lu Huai didn't give up easily. His voice sounded almost hurt, a little bit pleading. All the other kids have both their parents there. How only has his dad? How pitiful is that? Liu Ryan's face was filled with hesitation, her fingers tightly gripping the phone. Unable to speak, In the past, she always said how didn't have a mother, and that made him a poor child. She'd tell me that as a man, I shouldn't compete for affection with a child. But at the end of the day, it was clear she just wanted to be with Lu Huai, to reunite as a family. How could I stand in the way of their happy reunion? A child without a mother is truly pitiful. Can you really bear it? Go ahead. She hesitated for a moment, but in the end, she picked up her bag. Be good and wait for me at home. I'll just go for a little while and come right back. I won't be long. Sure. Be safe on the road. Suddenly, I felt a bit hungry. Maybe I'd make myself a bowl of noodles later. As I turned back, I noticed Liu Ryan still standing at the door, not moving, as if afraid she'd miss any reaction from me. Are you sure you're not mad? You seem a bit off. I simply waved my hand lightly. No, I'm really fine. If you wait any longer, the kindergarten event will be over. They're waiting for you. The door slammed shut with a bang. Someone who wants to stay can find 100 reasons. Someone who wants to leave has 10,000 excuses. Why should I force it? The warrior who once fought for love now just wanted a good night's sleep. I was woken up by Liu Ryan's phone call. In a daze, I answered it, but no one spoke on the other end. There was only the sound of heavy breathing. Any man would understand what had happened. If the car's surveillance cameras only cast suspicion on Liu Ryan's infidelity before, then this phone call was direct proof of her betrayal, both emotionally and physically. I didn't say a word. I just silently recorded the call. It was clear this call was made without Liu Ryan's knowledge. The most likely scenario was that Lu Huai sensed a threat, and now he was directly challenging me. Ridiculous. Why would I fight over something I no longer wanted? Liu Ryan said she would be back in a while, but by the time she returned, it was almost midnight. It was Lu Huai who knocked on the door, carrying a drunken Liu Ryan in his arms. Her blouse buttons were mismatched. Clearly, she had rushed back from the hotel. Lu Huai's eyes were filled with defiance. Raising his eyebrows, about to say something, I instinctively stepped aside and pointed toward the bedroom. Thanks for the trouble, I said, my voice acting like a sobriety pill, waking Liu Ryan up halfway from her drunken state. She looked around, realizing she was still in Lu Huai's arms. She quickly pushed him away, drawing a line between us. I really can't drink with your friends anymore. Every time I get drunk. Thank you for bringing me back. You should go now. Her words, attempting to salvage the situation, were betrayed by her guilty gaze. But Lu Huai refused to back down. Once again, he wrapped his arm around the unsteady Liu Ryan. Taking care of you is what I should do. Why say thanks? Liu Ryan furrowed her brows, angrily swatting away Lu Huai's hand. We're just friends, she said. Please keep your distance. Lu Huai probably never imagined that the two people who were so intimately close on the bed just moments ago could now revert to being just friends. Liu Ryan originally tried to fall into my arms, but I easily sidestepped her. She awkwardly held onto the doorframe, shooting Lu Huai a glare. Hurry and go! My husband's already misunderstanding. A slight smile tugged at the corners of my mouth. No rush. By tomorrow, once we're divorced, you two will be family. No need to pretend like you're strangers anymore. Seems exhausting. At this, Liu Ryan sobered up completely. She straightened up and glared at me. Bai Fu, you're using the divorce to threaten me again? How many times do you plan to pull this trick? She was furious. You really want a divorce, don't you? Do you believe that the moment we divorce, I'll marry Lu Huai right after? This statement made Lu Huai ecstatic. He looked at me smugly, his arrogance on full display. In the past, I would have never let Lu Huai get the upper hand like this. But now, I couldn't care less. Who she ended up with didn't matter to me anymore. It would be best if they got married right away. At the Civil Affairs Office, Liu Ryan sat with an air of decorum, but her eyes never left me for a second. She impatiently tapped her fingers on the desk, urging the staff to hurry up. Get it done quickly! I can't wait to be done with him. So we'll have nothing to do with each other from now on. I knew she was waiting for me to change my mind, waiting for me to grovel and beg her to stay. But this time, I simply followed the instructions of the staff and filled out all the paperwork, not saying a single unnecessary word. As the official stamp was about to come down, Liu Ryan finally couldn't sit still. She shot up from her seat, yelling at the staff, "I've changed my mind. I'm not getting a divorce anymore." Even the staff were speechless. I looked at her in confusion, unable to understand what she was trying to do. She looked down at me, towering over, speaking each word with force. "When you're righteous, you don't fear shadows. I can wait. I believe you love me. Even if today you truly want a divorce, one day you'll come back to me." She stood there, thinking she could turn things back around. But there are millions of kinds of love in this world, and not one can be relived. We plunged into another Cold War. From time to time, Liu Ryan would nag in my ear about how I was, making a big deal out of nothing. Finally, unable to stand it anymore, I pulled out my phone, pressed the play button on a recording. And this time, the sounds were even more explicit. Evidence so damning it couldn't be refuted. This is what you call being righteous, not fearing shadows? You might be able to fool others, but don't fool yourself. Liu Ryan stood frozen, dumbfounded, clutching her head as if trying to think of something, her brows furrowed in agony. I really don't remember anything from that night. All I remember is drinking the glass of wine Lu Huai handed me, and then I was so drunk I lost consciousness. I don't even know what happened. I raised my hand to cut her off. Even if Lu Huai really used some despicable means on you, it's something you allow. If you hadn't opened that door, he would never have had the chance to take advantage of you. So, stop making excuses for cheating. It just makes me look down on you. She was about to argue again, but I interrupted her once more. I'll file for divorce. I don't have time to drag this out with you. Liu Ryan panicked, stumbling as she grabbed my arm. I was wrong. Her teary eyes filled with desperation. No matter how big her mistakes had been before, she never once admitted fault. But now she was crying, tears streaming down her face, finally saying she was wrong. "Please forgive me this one time, okay? I was just confused for a moment. The one I love is you. In the past, I could never understand why, no matter how much I begged, she would always leave me. Now, standing in her position, I understood everything. Tears can't win you affection, and grievances won't earn you exceptions. When love is truly gone, that's when you can walk away so easily." She forced a smile through her tears, but it was pitiful to look at. "From now on, I'll cut all ties with Lu Huai. I won't have anything to do with him anymore. Even if you blame me, even if you hate me, I can make it up to you. You can have the company, all of it. I'll stay at home from now on. I'll be the perfect wife and mother. I'll serve you with all my heart." At this moment, I could only remain silent. There was no going forward anymore. "I will never hold you again without hesitation." Seeing that I wasn't speaking, Liu Ryan thought there was still a chance for reconciliation. She grabbed my wrist, placing it over her heart. "I'll give you a child, okay? Let's have one right now. Once we have a child, you won't want to leave." She didn't even bother wiping away her tears, and crouched down, starting to unbuckle my belt. At this moment, to keep me, she was willing to throw away all her dignity. I quickly reached out and gripped her wrist, my gaze as cold as ice, offering no retreat. "I have a flight tomorrow. I'll leave the divorce matters entirely to the lawyer." Her tightly bitten lips began to bleed as she lowered her head in despair, her shoulders shaking with sobs. Before boarding the plane, I saw a figure frantically running back and forth in the airport. It was Liu Ryan, drenched in sweat, asking one passenger after another, describing my appearance, desperately trying to figure out where I was going. I avoided her gaze, dragged my suitcase, and headed toward the security checkpoint. V Yan. She was calling out my name. I didn't turn around. My phone rang at the same time. Afraid she might cause a scene at the airport, I finally answered. When you come back, we can start over again, right? The boarding corridor felt endlessly long, even longer than the miserable 7 years we shared. She just silently listened to the sound of my footsteps, not daring to ask again. As I was about to step onto the plane, I finally spoke. Forget about me. The path we walk together ends here. Consider it paving the way for your future happiness, I said, then hung up the phone. I blocked her number. My overseas business ventures progressed smoothly, and I was soon promoted with a raise. To show her gratitude, Wei Wei often treated my colleagues to meals. Whenever she spoke about me, her face lit up with excitement. My senior back in school, he was always so clever. Anything he did, he succeeded at. He's practically my idol. I would only smile in response. The divorce lawyer was highly professional, and we quickly finalized the process. Unexpectedly, Liu Ryan revised the agreement, which originally left me with nothing, and changed it to a 50-50 split of our assets. Days passed one by one. One afternoon, my colleagues gathered around the floor-to-ceiling windows, gossiping about something downstairs. Whose girlfriend is that? I heard she flew all the way from abroad. She's been waiting here since morning. Says she wants to see her boyfriend one last time. She's quite the romantic. The sun's blazing down like that. She's going to get heat stroke, I swear. Who knows? Maybe her boyfriend was hurt too badly by her and doesn't want to see her anymore. Who can say? When they noticed me approaching, everyone hurried back to their desks, afraid I'd scold them for slacking off. I stretched lazily and glanced out the window. Just one glance, and I recognized the figure. It was Liu Ryan. She looked much thinner, holding a bouquet of flowers, eagerly scanning the crowd for a familiar face. Wei Wei nudged my arm. Do you want to go down and see her? I curled my lips. No need. The truth is, many have already had their final goodbyes. The mountain bird and the fish followed different paths. From now on, we will never meet again.